Company Video Channel 19.
Hello!
Hello!
On this episode, we're going to talk about prepositional phrases, and we're going to learn about them on this show with help from the minions. Hey, who stepped on a duck? Whoa!
I used to be this buff.
On our last episode, we learned about imposters and how to mark them out. The type of imposter that we learned about was called an infinitive, which can be confused for the main verb. Now we're going to talk about a second type of imposter, one that can be mistaken for the subject of the sentence. And as you know, the subject is the main noun, which means this type of imposter is a person, a place,
Hello.
Hello. I almost didn't recognize you at first. This is Mr. Query, a co-worker of mine. We also call him Q. Hello, Q. How do you do?
I do.
I say that to him every morning when I see him at work.
He does.
I almost mistook you for one of those minions. But now I can see that you are an imposter.
Well, actually, they spliced my DNA when I was young, so I'm half human, half minion.
No way. No way.
He also runs Al's Toy Barn.
This is Al from Al's Toy Barn, and I'm sitting here. Al, I think I'm feeling a deal action right now. Whoa, let's see what we
Hey, since you're our guest on this episode, do you want to tell everybody what's coming up next?
Sure. It's time for the Lightning Round Review.
What is the subject? It's a noun, the main noun. It's what the sentence is all about. What is a noun? A person, place, thing, quality, or idea. What's an action verb? It's something you can do. Follow, obey, serve. What's a linking verb? A word that links a subject to a word that describes. What's an end punctuation? A period, question mark, or exclamation point. What are the 5 requirements of a complete sentence? It's got to start with a capital letter, end with a punctuation, have a subject and a verb, and the sentence has to make sense. What are the pen steps? Pick out a formula, explore words, note the words, search and check. And finally, what are the 4 steps to search and check? Mark out imposters. So far, that's just infinitives, so look for the word to followed by a verb. Then find the main action or linking verb, root out the subject, and finally key in on the beginning, ending, and meaning of the sentence. Now, before we talk more about prepositional phrases, we should first discuss what a preposition is.
Preposition!
It's a word that shows place or time. In other words, where or when. Here's a little something that might help you out. It's called Minion in the Mansion. You'll know that a word is a preposition if it fits in the blank of this sentence. For instance, a minion moves around the mansion, over the mansion, into the mansion. You get the picture. Now, some prepositions won't work in this picture, like the words that tell us when something happens, like before, during, and after. And then there's a few others that don't show us time or location at all. Words like of, with, without, at, and for. But they're prepositions as well. Just keep that in mind. Now let's move on to the phrase part of a prepositional phrase. You know what a phrase is, Q?
It means there's more than just one word.
That's right. You know a word means one word.
One word!
Well, a phrase is simply a group of usually 2 or 3 words.
One word!
In a prepositional phrase, the first word is always a preposition, a word telling us where or when something happens. The last word is going to be the object of the preposition. Object meaning it's a noun. This is the imposter of the main subject noun that we're going to learn how to mark out. The word or words in the middle are usually words like the, his, or maybe a number. And here's the crazy thing. Remember the word to and how it lets you know an imposter verb is lurking as an infinitive? Well, the word to can also act as a preposition.
Preposition!
As you can see in this sentence.
Hello!
So now that we know that, the first thing you should do when marking out imposters is to look for the word to, as it'll help us find all of the infinitives.
And some of the prepositional phrases.
Hello. Bottom.
Minions are cute, fun, and loyal. That's right. They're probably at home right now, watching this show. Sometimes I hang out with them at school, or before breakfast, in the park, during the day, by the river, after supper.
Check out these examples and see if you can pick out the prepositions.
And the prepositional phrases.
I am by a castle. I am in the swamp. I'm on the moon.
So, since you're half minion, you've got an in with these other minions. Do you think you could maybe test them and see if they know which words are prepositions and which words aren't?
Sure.
Hey. Ta-da.
My fellow minions, which of the following words are prepositions and which ones aren't?
Luca. Bueno. Piñu. Bueno. Piñu. Bueno. Piñu. Hello.
Wow, that was impressive. Did you teach them all that yourself?
Yeah, that's why I get paid the big bucks. Which reminds me, I gotta get back to work.
Farewell, Q. I'll be seeing you. So now that we know two types of imposters, infinitives for verbs and prepositional phrases for nouns, let's create one sentence together that will include both types of imposters. Using the pen steps, of course. Pick a formula. Still just using SV. But spoiler alert, that will change next episode. Next, explore words. I think I'd like to write about Mr. Query and his transformation into becoming a minion. Let's note the words, which as you know means to write them down. Mr. Query evolved to grow into a minion. Final step, search and check. First, we mark out imposters. I see the word to, followed by a verb. Bam! That's an infinitive. Mark it out and put an I above it. What? I also see the word into, which tells me where something happens. That's a preposition, and the two words after it, a minion, combine with into to make a prepositional phrase. Minion here is a thing, so that makes it a noun. And if we aren't careful, we might mistake it for the main noun or subject of the sentence. But minion is an imposter noun. We're going to mark out the entire prepositional phrase to make it easier to find the main noun, which is the subject. And just so we can keep both imposter types straight, we are going to use the letter P to label prepositional phrases.
Hello.
I know they're imposters too, but we're going to only use I for infinitives. So remember, when labeling imposters, P for prepositional phrases and I for infinitives. Now look at what's left and ask if there's a verb.
Yes.
Then root out the subject.
Great job.
Finally, key in on the beginning for a capital,
Hoorah!
ending for a punctuation, and make sure the sentence makes sense. All right, my minions. Time for you to write 10 sentences of your own. Each sentence has to have one subject, one verb, one infinitive, and one prepositional phrase. Here's an example of what we're looking for. Make sure to label everything, just like you see here. Notice that sometimes the infinitive can come before the prepositional phrase and sometimes after. Either way is fine. Your teacher will tell you how to turn it in. And remember, you have to get 80% or better before you can progress to the next lesson. Can you dig it?
Yay!
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
thank me at once.